So today is the start of the type of series that I like to watch best, and this is our homeschools curriculum reviews, our term 2 updates. So we are about 24 weeks into our school year, and I like to split our school years into 3 12-week terms, and so we're coming to the end of term 2. Now, term 2 is generally the one that I feel like we get a good solid block of stuff done. So I do have a lot of things to show you and share with you. I will be making my term 3 updates at the end of the year, and that will be sort of my concluding thoughts on all of our curriculum and things like that. So in this series, I will have 4 videos. Today is my morning basket video. That includes our family Bible time and our morning basket items and our read alouds. My next video is going to be family subjects. That is what I do often right after morning basket, but those are our group subjects. So that is more geography, history, science, health, other subjects that we do as a family. So that is going to be the next video coming up. And then after that, I will be sharing how my 5th and 6th graders, more independent or more individualized curriculum is working, and my 7th and 8th graders. So those are the 4 videos that you're going to see in the next few weeks. So today's my morning basket video. I have my morning basket here just for easy access. And let's get into what I have here and how things have gone for us so far this term. If you're new here, my name is Davine and I homeschool 4 kids ages 11, 12, 12, and 15. And as I go through these, I will be linking everything I can down below in the description box if you want to take a closer look. So let's get started on what I have here in my morning basket, or rather morning cart. I'm going to go in the order of how we do things most mornings. So first of all, the first thing that we do every time we gather at about 10. So at 10 o'clock, we gather around and we start with World Watch News. This is something that we added just this school year, and my kids absolutely love it. I really like knowing what's happening in the world now. I generally am not a news watcher, but I have enjoyed sort of knowing what is happening in the world. And it's just a 10-minute segment that really, I feel like, keeps me updated on what's happening in a child-safe manner for my kids. So my kids really enjoy it. It really motivates them to get some work done between 9 and 10 because we have more of an independent work block between 9 and 10, and it motivates them to get things done. So I do highly recommend World Watch News. I will link a code in the description box below if you would like to try out World Watch News for free for 3 months. So just check out the description box below if you want my code. I don't think that you will regret giving it a try, even if you only try it for the 3 months. I think that you are really going to enjoy it, and you will probably extend it, but just check the link below if you're interested in that. So then the next thing on our schedule is our Bible time. And I have been doing a few different things. Our base that we've been doing throughout the year is following Sunlight F's reading guide. So we start out with singing our memory verse. And so it comes with a CD that has our memory verse on there. And then we've been reading out of the Bible. Right now we are reading in Job, and I just have like a slip here that tells me all the readings. So it's just a reading plan that Sunlight F has. So I've been doing that with my kids. And then when I'm done practicing our verse and reading out of the Bible, I have a few things here that I've been rotating through. So first of all, these are 2 that I've been rotating through. We are working on a Case for Creator for kids, Case for Christ for kids, and Case for Faith for kids. We are on the last of these books, so this is a 3-in-1. It has been really, really good. I have really enjoyed it. I think that it has brought up some really interesting, my kids don't really discuss things, but I think it has brought some really interesting things to my kids' minds as far as these different things. And it just kind of shows you the evidence that there is for Jesus and God being the creator and things like that. So we've really enjoyed that one. I do recommend it. We are getting close to the end of that one. And then one that we've been working on here and there for several years is Indescribable. I do think we will finish it this year. This is a really good book if you have younger, I would say elementary kids, but my kids still enjoy it, even though they're mostly in middle school at this point. So, Indescribable, very short clips about science and God and how God created the world and how amazing it is. So, I have all the tabs of the ones we have left, but we do have quite a bit left, but I do think we can finish it this year. So generally, I will pick from one of these two to read. However, for a while there, we were studying the Middle East in our Sunlight F. And so, Living Water in the Desert, it says True Stories of God at Work in Iran. This was recommended, so I just decided to throw that in the rotation. So, I have these 3 books, and I would just rotate through. This was really interesting. We really did enjoy it. Rebecca Davis, my child noticed that we have read I think it was, what's her name? Crosby. Fanny Crosby. Let me just grab it here. We have this book here that I picked up. I think it was a guest hollow suggestion. Fanny Crosby, Queen of Gospel Songs. So some of my kids read this book about Fanny Crosby and her life, and it was a really good book, so I do recommend that one. And they noticed that this was written by the same person, Rebecca Davis. And so these 2 are really good books. I do recommend them. This was just interesting. It is basically talking about different Christians in Iran and how they became to be Christians, and then the seeds that they planted. And it's really cool because a lot of the stories kind of run in together. And it talks about how Iran is like one of the places where revival is really happening. Sort of if you think of China and the underground church in China, right now Iran is sort of the one that has a lot of more underground churches and lots, like an explosion of Christians and stuff despite persecution. So this was a really interesting book. So I do recommend that one if you are interested in just more, not so much missionary stories, but just some, there are missionaries that planted seeds, but then the Iranians themselves who became Christians and shared with others in Iran. So that was a really good one. We did finish that one. So right now I'm just going back to rotating through these 2. So that is our main Bible. So we'll generally do the verse on the CD. We will do reading from the Bible, and then we'll do one of those books that I have that I rotate through. And then another thing that we started this semester, and we are about 4 lessons from the end, is this. It is a Not Consumed, Navigating Friendships, God's Perfect Plan for Friends. I really wanted to focus on friends and healthy friendships. My kids are in that preteen, teen years. They're either longing for friends, they want to know how to be good friends, or they need to learn how to be good friends. And just talking about how to find the friends that will enrich our lives, and we can be a blessing to them and they can be a blessing to us. So this has been really good. We have really enjoyed this. It was recommended by quite a few different people, and so I'm really glad I picked up this study. So we are on day 16, and there are 20 lessons. So I will do a loop through those 2 Bibles. So one day we'll do one, and one day we'll do the other. Okay, and then I was looking at all the read alouds that we have done since my last update. We have done a lot of read alouds. We have very heavy literature-based homeschool, and so a lot of our curriculums do recommend read alouds and use read alouds to teach different subjects. So it's hard for me to distinguish between our read alouds and our curriculum, but here are the ones that I gathered that I did during our read aloud block. So we have, because we are doing Sunlight F, and that is Countries and Cultures of the Eastern Hemisphere, our first one was Breaking Stalin's Nose. I've been curious about this one for a long time, and we finally got to read it. It does have illustrations. It's a pretty short read. It has a lot of illustrations, and obviously it is about the time of Stalin and a boy who's living in that time era, and just what it's like to be a boy during the time of Stalin. So that was our first read aloud of the term. Then we read I Rode a Horse of Milk White Jade. I have a lot of kids who really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a little strange. It was a bit longer, a bit thicker, but it was still interesting. One of my last videos was our favorite read alouds and readers, And this made it onto my kids' list. I think 2 of my kids picked that one as one of their favorites, so they enjoyed that one. The next one was sort of part of our history, and that was The Perilous Road. We read before this, we were reading Across 5 Aprils, and that took us a really long time to get through. This one was nice and short and sweet compared to that one. It showed more of the South and maybe some of their views of the Civil War. And so this boy, he's kind of in the middle of it. It seemed like a lot of people had family who were fighting on both sides of the war. And so both of the stories, Across 5 Aprils and this one, talk about that and the conflict that it kind of causes in the families. This one is also from a little boy's perspective. Across 5 Aprils was as well. But this boy is firmly rooted in the South, and he thinks that what the Yankees are doing is awful. But towards the end of the story, he's able to see from other viewpoints. So that was an interesting one, and it was a lot shorter than Across 5 Aprils. So we did enjoy that one. Then I talked about this one as well. We did this one in the car. So that is how we get some of our read alouds done. This one we had playing in the car. And so whenever all 4 of my kids were in the car, even if my husband's there, we listened to I Am Malala for a bit. And my kids really enjoyed this one. They were kind of sad when it was done. So this was like one of our favorite books so far of the school year. Then we read The Shadows of Gadams. This one is short. This one's pretty short. I don't know, probably took me about a week to get through. Yeah, so this one was interesting. This is set in Libya, so just kind of more of their lives and culture. But there was a storyline in there as well. A girl and her mother, they harbor a man who is running away from some people, and that of course is very against the customs of the area. But yeah, interesting story and a pretty short read. Then we had 7 Daughters and 7 Sons. I talked about this more in our favorite reader and read alouds video. I will link that below as well in case you're interested in that. So I'm not going to talk too much about that one. I also talked about this one, Teresa of Calcutta. We are still working on this. I actually added it to our Bible rotation. So it comes up in our Bible rotation as we're finishing off the last few chapters because I wanted to start this read aloud. So we have Daughter of the Mountains, and we have really just started this. But this is based on a girl in Tibet who really wants a certain type of dog, and then she gets the dog, and then he is kidnapped or dognapped, and she has to go and search for him. So we haven't gotten too far, but that's how much we know so far. So I have little tabs in here to show me how many times. And so for read alouds, generally, unless I have one that is during the Bible time, I just do once a day, we do read alouds. And my kids' attention spans are probably about 10 to 15 minutes. And so then the other way that we get read alouds in is in the car, which reminds me, we just started our read aloud in the car, and that is William Carey, A Missionary to India. So if you haven't noticed, we had some books about Russia, and then we moved into the Middle East, and now we are studying India, and we have read alouds kind of in the India region. And if you are interested in all the books, read alouds and readers and things that I researched for India, I will link that video below as well. I have a video showing some of the picture books and read alouds and readers that we are using as we study India. So that covers our read aloud section of our morning time. And then there are some other things that I rotate through. So World Watch News, Bible time, I do morning basket, which is what I'm going to show you here. And then I end with a read aloud, and then we move into our family subjects. Okay, so just in whatever order they are here, we have Mad Libs. We usually have that. It's just a fun thing to come up every so often. I will usually do about 2 of the things that you see here in my morning basket in a given day, depending on how long it is. If it's a longer thing, then we might just do 1. But if they're shorter things, then I can do 2. And so we have Mad Libs. I have The Good and the Beautiful, draw vintage images. So level 2 and 3 is where we're at. I have some kids who will draw the level 2 drawings and some kids that will draw the level 3 drawings. So I just have the 2 levels there. And usually while they're drawing, I will read something. So for example, this is right after it. So I'd probably be reading this as they're doing their drawings. So this one is Brave Heroes and Bold Defenders, 50 True Stories of Daring Men of God. We've had this since the beginning of the year, so this is nothing new. But basically, 1-page or 2-page spreads of different men of God. My boys enjoy this because it talks about men. So I had this in here because I was a little girl heavy this year, so I thought I would add that in. Now this we are done. I just left this in to make sure I talk about it. We have finally finished the 3 levels of Word Up from Compass Classroom. I will link a link to that below. It is a vocabulary show done by I think it's Dwayne Johnson. He's funny. He gives the Greek and Latin roots of words and tell us 10 words for each. And he does make it funny and entertaining. And my kids did really enjoy it. It took us about 1.5 years to get through it because we just rotate through in our morning basket, but we did really enjoy it and I would recommend it. I would say, especially for if you have middle school and even lower high school, it would be appropriate. So that was lots of fun. So I don't have to show you that anymore because we are done. Then I have Me and My Feelings. We're almost done this. It is okay. I wouldn't highly recommend it. It's okay. We talk about some feelings. I did like the part where it talked about emotional Eddie and thinking Thelma, 2 parts of your brain that are fighting. Emotional Eddie is there to protect you, but sometimes he gets a little over the top, and thinking Thelma lets you think logically of what is actually happening. And so we were talking a little bit about that because we have a lot of strong emotions being preteens and teens here, and then me dealing with preteens and teens. And so that is one of the things that we've learned from this, or a way that it explained to my kids. But I do have a really fun book that I'm going to be adding to my morning basket that's kind of goes along this line, more of a mindset book. So if you're interested in that, I will be sharing that in our next morning basket, because I am going to add it as soon as maybe 1 or 2 of these things come out of my morning basket. Then I have my handicraft card to remind me to do our Bestowing the Brush. That is an online program. At first we started with brush drawing, and now we're doing chalk and charcoal drawing. This is our 2nd year doing this, so I paid once and it has lasted us 2 years. We do it every 2 weeks, and I usually save this for a Friday. I will link that below as well if you want to take a look. We do like the teacher, and it's been fun going through this. Then I have my card for Pilgrim's Progress. I have that at the back of my cart because it's a little bigger. So this is actually Dangerous Journey, so it's a kid version of it, and I believe we are on the last chapter. So we've been reading through this all year. It is a kid's version of the Pilgrim's Progress, and it's been okay. I would say my kids have liked it okay, but I just felt like it was a classic that we needed to go through, so that has been in our morning basket. Next, I have the Tuttle Twins Guide to Logical Fallacies. So these basically go through different fallacies. So let's see, we have the appeal to authority. So there's a little introduction to what it is, and then it will talk about it. And then they will give an example from Ethan and Emily. So like a kid's version of what it might look like, and then a Tuttle Twins takeaway. I am mixed on this one. I don't 100% love all the examples that they give. I think my kids are okay with it. They are not loving it. I don't know. So I'm mixed on that. I can't say you have to go get it. I'm interested in using the Fallacy Detective next year. We'll be using that for logic. So I'm interested in seeing how that compares in my mind to this one. So I would say 3.5 stars maybe. For me, it's okay, and we're still doing it. We are not even halfway, so we probably won't finish it, but we'll just keep chugging along. All right, I have my poetry card here. So that is this one here. We are still working on this. I really do like this poetry book a lot. I do have our next poetry book lined up. I can't remember what it's going to be. It is going to be Sunlight F's recommendation, so I'm sure I have it somewhere, but I don't know. Haven't done it yet. We are really close to finishing this, so you will see a new poetry book next morning basket, but I do highly recommend this one. I really, really, really enjoy it. Just talks about different types of poetry, and gives a little example. So it gives a background on the poet's life, and then it gives examples of their poems. And it has an audio CD so someone else can read it. And I feel like it's kind of going from older poems to newer poets. So I have really enjoyed this one. A really good introduction for kids for poetry. We have really enjoyed this one. Okay, next I have my fairy tales, folklore, myths category of my morning basket. So a few things that we have done. So when we were in Russia, I basically used my Everand account, used to be Scribd account, to find some Russian fairy tales. So we listened to that off my computer, some Russian fairy tales. So that was very interesting. I will link my link to Everand and Scribd below as well. If you use my link, you will get 60 days free. And we have really enjoyed using Everand and Scribd. I've talked about it so many times, but it's one of those things that we have really been using in our homeschool this year. I have kids with different reading level abilities as well, and so some of the books they get might be too hard. And I've been able to find so many books on Everand that I've not been able to find at my library. So it has basically, I would say, given us maybe 200% more books that we can have the audio version for. And so we have really enjoyed that. So we use that to do our Russian fairy tales. And then when we moved on into the Middle East, I picked up one from the library. It's a DK illustrated book for, I think, Aladdin and Tales of the Arabian Nights, but we really enjoyed that. It gave some background on Saudi Arabia during those times. And then the stories that they told us would be like set in China, because they actually were talking about faraway lands. And so when they talked about Aladdin, it was probably actually set in China, because to Saudi Arabia, that would be a faraway land. And so it was really interesting because we got to hear the stories, the non-Disney version of the stories, and we got some background information about the culture of people in the area. So I really enjoyed that, the DK illustrated book of Aladdin and Arabian Nights or whatever. That was really good. And then now we're in India. And so I've been using this whenever I can. I think I use this for Russia as well. So this is Osborne's Tales of Brave and Brilliant Girls Around the World. And they have various stories from different places in the world. So there's a few stories here. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories in here. And so whenever we start a new country, I look to see, first of all, is there a story in here? So I believe there was a story we did do one of these stories for Saudi Arabia, and I just did one for India. So I'm just picking this up whenever we enter a new country, and I see if there are any stories in there. And so the next one that we're going to be moving into for our kind of myths, fairy tales section is this Just So Stories by Rudyard Kipling. These are not specifically set in India, but Rudyard Kipling, he lived in India a long time, so I think there's going to be some influence from that. But these are stories like how the whale got his throat, how the camel got his hump, how the rhinoceros got his skin, how the leopards got his spots. So just little stories, just interesting stories about maybe how animals got whatever. So that is what I'm going to be doing next in this section for my morning basket. Okay, and then the last part of my morning basket section is these cards here. So these are virtue cards, and if you saw my first morning basket of this year, I will link that below. I made a big mistake, and it came with like a workbook, a PDF download workbook, and I photocopied a million things, and it was just, yeah, we weren't going to fill out all the details. But we are using these cards. So I have 12 of these virtue cards. What I've been doing now is I go through with my kids, we look over the front of the card, and then in the back of the card, they have some questions that you can read or talk about. So we have define, so we talk about it, and then they give you like memorize this verse or research a historical character, things like that. We don't do that. And then discern, does being perseverant affect others? So we talk about how does being perseverant affect those in your life, or not being perseverant affect those in your life? Can being perseverant change your future? So why is this a quality that we want to develop? How can it affect us in the future? Detect, do you need more perseverance? And so there's a little quiz here so they can score themselves out of 10. Do they need to be more perseverant? And then do it. Be perseverant today. And then it just kind of talks about the little story here. There's a story for this picture. So I will usually go through a few of the points on the back here, maybe do this about 2 or 3 times, and then we'll move on to the next one. It's been a nice way just to talk about different virtues that we do want to develop. And I have actually started adding, because I want us to be looking to develop these skills as well. So I've been adding that I get a little whiteboard and I write the virtue that we're working on, and I just write it down. And then every time they see themselves being perseverant or whatever, we did kind and we did helpful. I think that's when we started. Every time that they notice themselves doing something that's hard and persevering, they write down under their name. So each of them have their names. They write down what they did that they had to persevere in. And it's more of just a way to just to notice that they are doing that virtue. So that's kind of what we've been doing for these cards. And so then after our morning basket section, I said we did read aloud. That's not true. Then we do our language. So we have 2 languages that we've been doing in our family. We've been doing Mandarin Chinese for 3 years now. I grew up in Taiwan, so I speak Mandarin fluently. I don't read and write it fluently. I can read and write a lot of the stuff that I'm teaching my kids right now, but it is kind of, that's my level. So we've been doing Mandarin Chinese, and then we've been doing Spanish. So if you've been here a while, we are using the same resources for Mandarin Chinese. I will link them below if you're interested. Most people will not be, I know. We sing some songs from that. We have some flashcards. I love the title flashcards. They're really good. I know they do a lot of different languages, just basic things that you should know when you start a new language. We have these little readers that we will read. I have 36 of these readers. We have not gone through all of them, but I just will review those. And then we have Chinese Made Easy. We have the textbook and we have the workbook. And this has worked really well, but this is really, it's not in English. No, it is in English. I can't find the CDs. I don't think that they are in print anymore. So you don't have the CDs, so you have to be able to guess or know how to read. So those are the resources that we use for Chinese. It's worked well for us. I think we've been using that for some variation of that for the 3 years. And then we are doing Spanish. And my loop for this is actually, we'll do 2 Spanish and 1 Chinese, because we have the Master Book Academy's Spanish for Families this year, and we have an 18-month subscription. So there are videos with a very energetic teacher. I do recommend the Spanish for families that are wanting to learn Spanish and really don't have a background in it. I don't have any background in Spanish. I took French in high school, and I would say that more messes me up than helps me with Spanish. So this is a little PDF. Well, it's not little, it's quite big actually. So far, this is about half of the PDF that I have printed off. This is my teacher's copy that I print off. I just like to have something sturdy to hold. But there are video lessons that are between 12 to 28 minutes. This one is 28 minutes, the one we did today. But a very energetic teacher teaching all the topics. Right now we're learning about colors, and so she'll have a fun game where we're talking about the colors of the fruit, and then she'll spin a wheel and she'll tell them, oh, it lands on cafe, so brown, we're going to color the apple brown, and it's just kind of funny. And then, oh, the orange, what color is the orange usually? So we talk about the color, and then they spin it and oh, what color are we doing our orange? And so it's, I would say it's good for elementary students. My kids being in late elementary and middle school and almost high school age, we have been fine with this. We have enjoyed it. It's been fun. And so there are little activity sheets that you print off or not. But anyways, I printed it all off just because I like to hold it. And my kids each have their own copies of these different things. But there are games, and she's very energetic and fun. And so we do enjoy that. So I was saying we have 18 months of Spanish. So we have 18 months to watch the videos. And when we were rotating Spanish, Chinese, we were getting a bit behind in our Spanish, and I do want to make sure that we finish it before our subscription ends. So we started doing Spanish twice and then Chinese once and then Spanish twice, just to make sure we make the best use of this Spanish program. So I know that sounds like a lot. It actually is quite a lot. I would say our morning basket time probably takes at least, if you count our read aloud, it might take about an hour and a half from start to finish. However, it is my favorite part of homeschooling. Not exactly just the morning basket, but the group time that we have together. So on the end of what I just told you, we enter into our group subjects, and we have like 4 or 5 that we rotate through as well, but we'll do 1 or 2 of the group subjects. So this is the bulk of what we do together. About an hour and a half of this, maybe an hour, 20 minutes, and then our group subjects maybe take 20 to 40 minutes, depending on the day. That covers what we've been doing in our morning basket this year. If you have not tried the morning basket, that is okay. You do not have to try it. I know people who have tried it and it doesn't work for them, and that is totally fine. Not all families enjoy doing it this way or want to do it this way, and I, as you can see, have a lot of resources. What I like about the morning basket is it allows me to throw in random different little things that I do want to do with my kids, but I can't do them on a everyday basis or every other day basis. So especially like the morning basket part where they rotate through like 10 to 12 items, we get through those like over 2 weeks, we'll touch on something. So it's not like we spend a lot of time doing each subject, but it is kind of fun to have that variety. I will say that the morning basket is something I learned about when I first started homeschooling, and I really did not think it would work for us, but it looked like everyone was doing it, so I thought I would give it a try. And once I started, first year was a little bit rougher, but I think it was something that my kids really enjoyed, and so I kept going with it, and it's just been so great over the years that we've been doing it. And I'm kind of sad that as my kids get older and as we start going in different directions, we won't have as much time to do things like this morning basket. But I'm hoping to keep remnants of it, little bits of it, for as long as possible. So sorry that went really long. Don't forget to give me a like if you like videos like this, and subscribe if you haven't already, and come back for the next video, our family subjects, group subjects, and what we're doing there and how all of that is going. So thanks for coming today, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone. Next, I was gathering all the read alouds that we have done since my last morning basket video. I do generally do a language in between Bible and our morning basket. So I'm going to show you my language resources in a minute, but we do rotate through 2 languages, Mandarin Chinese, which this is our 3rd year of doing Mandarin Chinese, and Spanish. We added Spanish this year, and I was going Chinese, Spanish, Chinese, Spanish, Chinese, Spanish, but right now I'm doing Chinese and then 2 Spanish, Chinese and then 2 Spanish. So what I'm explaining here is a looping schedule. So we do follow a looping schedule quite a bit.